I always tell my students, one of the most important things to do, once you learn to see accurately and learn how to make something look like it, whether you're working from a two-dimensional thing, as soon as you can, go out and work from life. Because when you work from life, something that's in natural daylight or even life in your studio or your house with a still life, the image you're seeing from your eyes rather than a photograph. And the human body doesn't work like a camera. We can only focus on one part at a time. So you're really exercising your brain and your body much harder working from something that's living life to get the image. And you'll find that many artists that work from photographs all the time, they're looking stop action, because they're used to seeing pictures. But the human brain and the human environment doesn't pick those things up. So that's just one example of the power of working from life. It makes you work so much harder and it makes you grow so much faster.
I think as artists, it's our job to capture that emotional response to the feeling of the day, to the feeling of the scene that we experience. We're painting an experience. If we just copy photos, might as well just use the photo. But it's really about capturing our emotions and our impressions about the scene. So that's why I think that you have to paint from life as much as you can.
I think the key word there is emotion. Because as a figurative artist, I find the emotion of the subject compelling. I don't find perfection compelling. I find imperfection sometimes compelling. One of the great things about working with live models is the fact that you can actually establish a relationship of sorts in the sense that you can tell something about your person. I'll give you an example. I did a portrait of my wife. I noticed that when she does it this way, she is thinking, and when she does it to the other side, she's mad at me. So that's a nuance that you get by having the privilege of working with somebody who is alive.
Almost all the plein air paintings are always unexpected what's going to happen. I usually go out to a place and I don't lock myself into that I'm going to paint here or there. I just sort of walk around depending and looking for something to hit me. And then even when I sit down and look at it, I don't fix my mind as to what the finish is going to look like. It's more of the process. I'm one who works from the process and keep it on building and building. And sometimes like where you're not matching the colors exactly. And every time I say, that's the color of the sky, and I made it close to that color. But then if it's not the same, I look at it and say, which one do I like better? So all the time it's changing because I'm a firm believer in, I want my painting to be better than what I'm looking at, whether it's the composition, the colors. And what I mean by better, more in tune to what is me, or what I like. Not necessarily better for everyone, because I'm not painting everyone's pictures. I'm painting for me.
Oftentimes I will post something on social media after I painted outside, and I like to start the post with, here's number 369 of this would not have happened in the studio. Because I could fill a whole book. One of the best things that happened to me when I was painting outside, I got to meet Ralph. And I just met so many nice people. I've become friends with a lot of my students. But I always really like encounters with children because they're not attached to the outcome of your painting like an adult would be. I can always tell when my painting is finally leaving the block-in stage and is turning into a painting when people start making comments. For a long time when I block in and I've seen my big shapes, everybody sort of walks by me and feels sorry for me. Especially since I work with this weird technique, with very colorful underpaintings, and everybody's like, oh, poor thing's colorblind, but she's trying. But the children, they just love the idea of standing out there and painting. And, oftentimes I will mix up a color, I hand them the brush, and I tell them where to put the color. And then when I see them leave because their parents finally drag them away, they're already begging their parents to go home and paint. And I just love that just by watching you do this out there, they feel inspired enough to want to do it as well. But other than that, I've had animal encounters.
I didn't think of that. Wow, yeah.
People encounters, people who almost got pepper sprayed by me because I'm painting a nocturne and they're sneaking up on me. You just don't do that to people, especially not when they're armed with pepper spray. And and I made a lot of connections that are very valuable to me.
As an artist, we are a channel. We're not a surgeon. We're more of a midwife. And so as the piece of art is evolving and being born, it kind of tells you what it wants to become. And the thing about it is you have to be humble enough. You have to have enough humility to allow it to do that. Because your brain is a problem. At least my brain is a problem. And it keeps trying to control everything. But you have to follow your eye, number one, and I keep telling my students that. Follow your eye, not your brain. And then the other thing is you have to listen to your work, because your work actually kind of evolves, and you have to just kind of help it evolve.
It's the same with painting. So, I typically look at my subject matter for about 75% of the time. That's just how long it takes to draw it, to block it in, to make it sort of look like what's there. But then again, we're not copy machines, we're making art. So the last 25 to 30% of my time, I won't even look anymore. I look at the painting and I listen to the painting to tell me what it needs.
I tell my students many times that sculpture is not a short story, it's a poem. Because we don't have a lot of space for context. Like you do in a painting, you have much more space. You can put a house here, you can put a child running over here, you can have a motorcycle there. You have context. In sculpture, the sculpture itself is the context. And it has to imply the context.
I would tell my students, when you look at your own painting, as well as you look at a painting in a museum, and you look at it and you say, let me critique it. And the first thing you look at, what can I take out that'll make it look better? All right? So even if it was a noted artist, I would look at it with fresh eyes and say, is there anything I can take out that would make this look better? And then if I exhaust that, then I'd say, is there anything that I would move a little bit one way or the other to make it look better? And then the last resort would be, is there something I can add to this that would make it look better? And I use this in my own critiquing of my own work as well as other people, and I tell them to critique their own work.
You have to be honest, and you have to be yourself. And if you're honest and if you're yourself, I think people sooner or later will be drawn to your work because it's honest and because it has something about who you are that they recognize to be special or different.